Welcome back to Perkins Pipes. Got this little Kaywoodie pear. Really like the look of this little guy. Dates way back there, I think maybe to the 30s or 40s. Something like that. A state pipe that a friend gave me. And I hadn't had this fella out for a while and just wanted to enjoy him while I share with you the last in a series. What series am I talking about? Let's get this guy lit. Let's get to talking. So this is the last in the series of episodes about the poem by Alexander Pope, or really the series of poems by Alexander Pope, that collected become his essay on man. There are 4 epistles, poetic letters that he composed. And in this last one, the theme really is in the opening 2 lines. O happiness, our being's end and aim, good, pleasure, ease, content, whate'er thy name. I think we all think about, wonder about, strive to find happiness in this life. What is it? How does one obtain it? Well, Pope certainly has some thoughts, and he starts off by saying this. He says, ask of the learned the way the learned are blind. This bids to serve, and that to shun mankind. Some place the bliss in action, some in ease. Those call it pleasure and contentment, these. So you go around and he says, you ask the philosophers, the scholars, what is it? And he says they're all blind. They all have different ideas as to what happiness really is. Some say it's in serving. Some say it's in avoiding human beings altogether. And he goes on, he says, O sons of earth, attempt ye still to rise by mountains piled on mountains to the skies, making a reference there to the Tower of Babel. Heaven still with laughter thy vain toil surveys, and buries madmen in the heaps they raise. Isn't that just so? We pile up, whether it's things, wealth, experiences, friends. Some people collect other people. The more friends that they have, who are just piling it up, trying to reach the happiness of heaven. He just looks down and laughs. Apparently that's not the way to go. And then he says, nor is his claim to plenty. So the really happy man, he says, nor is his claim to plenty, but content. All right, so someone says, I don't need a whole lot, I just need to be content. But grant him riches. Your demand is ore. So in other words, we give this guy some wealth. Is he satisfied then? No. Shall the good want health? The good want power? Add health and power, and every earthly thing. Why bounded power? Why private? Why no king? Nay, why external for internal given? Why is not man a god, and earth a heaven? Who ask and reason thus will scarce conceive God gives enough, while he has more to give. Immense that power, immense were the demand. Say, at what part of nature will they stand? And I think we've experienced that, right, as children and as adults. It's the whole, give a mouse a cookie and he wants the cake, or however that little, story goes, right? You give them a little bit, they want more and more and more. And you give some guy riches, well, he wants power too. Give somebody power, well, that person wants not just private power, but public power. Wants to be a king, wants to be a ruler. And why is not man a god at some point? I don't have enough yet. Maybe I should be God. Maybe this earth here should be heaven. More and more and more. And Pope says, well, God gives enough. While he has more to give, can't outgive God. Right? He's infinitely wealthy in blessing. But whatever he gives is enough. Because otherwise, you say, at what point, at what part of nature will a person stand and say, hey, I've had enough. This is good. And they keep desiring more and more and more. What nothing earthly gives or can destroy, the soul's calm sunshine and the heartfelt joy is virtue's prize. A better would you fix? Then give humility a coach and six. Now this is kind of funny because he says, the real prize of virtue and the virtuous life is not anything that you can get from the earth, not anything that can be destroyed. It's the soul's calm sunshine. Have you ever felt that? Have you ever experienced the calm sunshine of the soul? Heartfelt joy. He says, what, you want to go better than that? He says, well, give virtue a coach and six. In other words, and that's ridiculous, right? The idea of giving virtue a handsome carriage with horses to draw it around town. Obviously, that's an absurd metaphor. He says, you want to go better than the rewards of virtue? It would produce something absurd, like giving virtue a coach and six. Now, to whom can riches give repute or trust, content or pleasure, but the good and just? Judges and senates have been bought for gold. Esteem and love were never to be sold. Yeah, it's not in the power, it's not in the structures and halls of power and all that kind of stuff. The real reward, the real happiness lies with the good person, the just person. Honor and shame from no condition rise. Act well your part. There all the honor lies. Fortune in men has some small difference made. One flaunts in rags, one flutters in brocade. The cobbler aproned and the parson gowned, the friar hooded and the monarch crowned. What differ more, you cry, than crown and cowl? I'll tell you, friend, a wise man and a fool. The real difference is not that someone goes around in humble clothing and someone else goes around in robes and gowns and all this sort of stuff. And we often think that, don't we? The real difference is the person who drives the old beat-up 1980s half-rusted-out car or the person who's being chauffeured around in a limousine. That's the real difference, isn't it? Paul says, no, no, no. The real difference is between the wise and the fool. There's the real difference in people. And then ended up, or we go toward the end here. He says the person who has really achieved happiness learns from this union of the rising whole the first, last purpose of the human soul. You and I have a purpose. It's what forms us at the beginning, and it's the purpose all the way through our life. And knows where faith, law, morals all began, all end in love of God and love of man. That's where it is. And he says, no, it works like this. He said, God loves from whole to parts. And so there's a whole created order, right? And then God focuses on each individual person. But so I'll just rephrase that. God loves from whole to parts, but human soul must rise from individual to the whole. Self-love, again, one's own self-interest, but serves the virtuous mind to wake, As the small pebble stirs the peaceful lake, the center moved, a circle straight succeeds, another still, and still another spreads. Friend, parent, neighbor, first it will embrace, his country next, and next all human race. Wide and more wide o'erflowings of the mind take every creature in, of every kind. Earth smiles around with boundless bounty blessed, and heaven beholds its image in his breast. So the way it goes for you and me, we start out by loving and caring for our own little small circle, right? Parents, family members, and then it expands to friends, and then it expands to neighbor. And if we really let our souls grow and flourish, it extends to the whole country, our nation, and then indeed all of humankind. And then when heaven looks upon us, heaven smiles because heaven sees its image in us. What a beautiful, beautiful idea there of happiness. So, once again, we'll end this by saying, what do you think of Alexander Pope's essay on man? I've received some wonderful comments from some people about this. Some people have actually gone out and purchased copies of Pope. I'm so glad of that. Some people who said they hadn't heard of him or some of these works and were glad to be introduced. So I'm so glad of that as well. What do you think about happiness and what Pope has to say about happiness? Well, if it's the fruit of virtue and the calm, quiet heart, then that's what I'm hoping to enjoy with the rest of this little Kaywoodie pear. As Malcolm Guite likes to say, I do these little things in order at last to do nothing. Or as I like to say in Latin, Parva tandem, nihil agam. Have a wonderful day.